Hi, and welcome to Lesson 9.2. In this first part of the video, we're going to be exploring graphing the quadratic function where we have a b value. So this is the first one that we're going to be looking at. So go ahead in your notes and write down this quadratic equation, y equals x squared plus 2x minus 4. And you're going to see that in this one, we actually do have a b value. It's not just 0 like in our last lesson where we were looking at quadratic functions only with the a and the c values. So here we've got a b. Okay, now remember when we're graphing, we want to start off by making a table of values, but the very first point that we want to come up with is the middle point of the parabola, and that's the vertex. So we're going to use that formula x equals negative b over 2a. So let's go ahead and write x equals, now negative b. If the b is 2, negative b would be negative 2 divided by 2 times the a value, and the a value in the function is just a 1. So this would give us negative 2 divided by 2, which would be negative 1. So I get, if you look here, I get x equals, oh, my bad, negative 1. Negative 1. And that's what I come up with for x. Okay, so now that I have the x coordinate, I'm going to put that right here, and I want to find the y coordinate for the vertex. So I'm going to be plugging in negative 1 for x into two places in the equation, the x here and also the x here. So I'm going to take negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 4. And it's really helpful just to go ahead and plug this into your calculator and just type all of this right here into the calculator with the negative 1 in for x and just use the parenthesis button on the calculator. That works really, really nice. And so you're going to end up getting negative 5 here. So go ahead and let's have you graph the negative 1, 5. I'm just going to erase what I've done so far here. And let's graph that. Okay, so negative 1, negative 5. There's our vertex right here. And we can see from the a value being positive, our parabola is going to be opening upward. So looking at the x values in the table, I want to go 1 above the negative 1, which would be 0, and then 1 more above that. And then we're going to go 1 below, and 1 more below that. So just the 2 points above the x and 2 points below the x. And remember that when you graph a parabola, it has symmetry. So if we plug in the 0 and the 1 into the equation, it will be the same answers as negative 2 and negative 3. How cool is that? So let's plug in 0 for x. So everywhere where you see x into the equation, we're just going to plug in a 0. So here, and again, just using the calculator. And when you do that, you get negative 4. So we can graph 0, negative 4. Okay, now we're going to plug in a 1. So into the equation for x here and here, plugging in a 1. And that's going to give us negative 1. Now, if we plug in negative 2 here and here, it's going to be the same answer as the 0. You're going to get negative 4. And same thing as when you plug in 1 and you get negative 1, it's the same answer as when you plug in negative 3 because we have symmetry. So let's graph the points. From the top, negative 3, negative 1. Negative 2, negative 4. I already have the vertex right here. I have 0, negative 4 here, and then I need 1, negative 1. And you see how nice and symmetrical that is. So we're going to connect the points, making our parabola. Here we see that is opening upward. Okay, so now for axis of symmetry, I'm going to change my color here. And I am going to draw our axis of symmetry. Right here, it goes right through the vertex point, okay? So this is a vertical line that goes through the x-axis. So that's why it's going to start x equals. And we see that it goes through the x-axis at the point negative 1. So x equals negative 1. Now, I want to show you something that's kind of cool, kind of important here. This equation right here that I gave you, and I told you that it's super helpful to find the vertex, the x-coordinate of the vertex, it actually is the axis of symmetry equation. So do you see how we got x equals negative 1? That's your axis of symmetry. Okay, so because it's going to go through the x coordinate of the vertex, that's that. When you solve that, x equals, that's your axis of symmetry. How cool is that, right? Okay, so now we need domain and we need our range values. Let's go with green here. So domain, remember that's x values. And we can have any number we want to plug in for x. So that's going to be x equals all real numbers. Any number that is positive, negative, rational, irrational, any of them. Okay, now for range, let's switch it up here for range. Remember, range is your y values. So let's go over here to the parabola. The lowest point that it touches any y coordinate is right here at -5. And then the parabola goes up in both directions. It's never going to touch anywhere below that. So when we're writing the range values, we're going to be using an inequality. So looking at this point right here, this is at -1, -5. That's the lowest y coordinate. That's the lowest y. So even look in all of in our table, this is the smallest or lowest y value. So we're going to say that y is going to be everything that's greater than or equal to -5. And that is our range. That's our y values. Okay, so we've graphed a quadratic equation that has a b value. First time that we've seen that. And I had some things on clicks here. I'm just going to moving on. Okay, moving on. Number 2. Can you write down this quadratic equation right here? There's my marker. Y equals x squared minus 4x. So if I compare that to the standard form, we have y equals x squared minus 4x. Do you notice how there isn't a c value? It would just be plus 0, so no c value. Okay, so let's get ready to graph. The first thing we want to do is to find our vertex. And in order to find the x coordinate of our vertex, we're going to use this formula right here. And remember, that's our axis of symmetry equation. X equals -b. So if b is -4, negative b would be -4, which is +4. And we want to divide that by 2a. 2 times a, and a is 1. So this is 4 divided by 2, which is 2. X equals 2. Remember, that's the axis of symmetry. And we're going to find that out. That axis of symmetry is x equals 2 also. So here we got 2. All right, that's our x coordinate. So now remember, we're going to plug that into the equation here and here for x. We're going to plug in 2. And we are going to solve for y. And when you plug in 2, you square it, -4 times 2, you're going to get an output of -4. So that is our vertex. Go ahead and graph that. 2, -4 right here. Okay, then we're going to come up with some other x points. Remember, you can use any real number you want, but to make this easy, let's go 1 above the number 2, so that would be 3, and then 4, and we'll go 1 below, 1 and 0. Okay, remember this is going to be symmetrical. So let's plug in an easy value. Let's plug in 0. Plugging in 0 for x here and here, and you're going to get 0. Then if I plug in 1 for x here and here, you plug it into the function, you're going to get -3. Again, this is symmetrical. So you see the 1 and the 3, they're going to have the same output. If I plug in 4 here and here, it's going to be 0. Okay, it's symmetrical, 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 symmetry, same answers. Let's go ahead and graph 0, 0, 1, -3. I already have 2, -4 here, 3, -3, and 4, 0. So I'm going to connect those points, and I have the parabola. Okay, so we want axis of symmetry. Well, you already know the axis of symmetry because remember, this is the axis of symmetry equation. We got x equals 2. So do you see how if I were to draw the axis of symmetry, it is a line that goes through the x-axis at 2. So x equals 2. That is the axis of symmetry equation. Now we need domain and range. Okay, so domain, remember that's our x values, range is our y values. And remember for domain, we could use all real numbers. Any number we want, we could plug right in here for x. It does not matter. But range is representing the y values. So look at your parabola. Do you see how this is the lowest y coordinate? It's at 2, -4. It's going to touch the y, it's going to touch the lowest y value. What am I trying to say? The lowest y coordinate that you're going to see on the parabola is at -4, and then it just goes up from there. It's not going to touch any other y any lower than that. So if I write an inequality, it'd be y is everything that's greater than or equal to -4, and that would be the range right here. So y values will be always above that. You can see here that -4 is the smallest or lowest y value, and everything else is going to be above that as the parabola goes up. Okay, so there we go. We learned how to graph a quadratic equation when we have a b value. Super fun. Okay, one more example. And here we're asked, what is the vertex and axis of symmetry for the quadratic equation given right here? So go ahead and copy this quadratic equation. And we're going to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. So do you remember that formula that helps you with the vertex? It's x equals -b over 2a. That formula is the axis of symmetry formula, right? We learned that that's actually going to give us the axis of symmetry. X equals, it's going to give us the equation. So let's figure out what the vertex is. Okay, so this is our A. Our A is 1. Our B is -6, and our C is +2. A, B, and our C. Okay, so x equals -b. Now, if the b is -6, -b would be -6. So it's the opposite of -6, which is +6. And I want to divide that by 2a. So 2 times a, which is 1, and that's going to give me 3. So I get x equals 3. Okay, so that's the axis of symmetry, you guys. X equals 3. And I'm going to show you how that works. I'll show you a little quick graph. So vertex, we have x equals 3, and we need the y coordinate. So everywhere where we see x in the equation, we're going to plug in 3. And then we're going to evaluate. So then it's just as simple as using your calculator. It's just calculator work. And if you use the calculator, you're going to get y equals -7. So we get -7 right here. Now don't shut off the video yet. I want to show you something really cool here. This is kind of not just neat, but kind of important to understand. So if I were to graph with the vertex at 3, -7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here's the vertex right here. This parabola is going to open up because it has a positive a value. So it's opening up. Now, if I were to trace the vertex, if I were to trace the axis of symmetry, it would be right here, wouldn't it? And wouldn't that be right here at x equals 3? It's going to cut right through there at 3. So axis of symmetry, that's what we got by using that x equals -b over 2a. That is the axis of symmetry equation. Cool. Thank you so much for joining me for the graphing examples. Go ahead and watch the next video for the application. Have a great day.